Hello and welcome back to the True Crime Guys podcast. I'm Lauren.
And I'm Michael.
Well,
we're back.
Yeah,
and
we're back.
We're still alive and we're not sick with the coronavirus.
Hey, you know what? If one industry that's going to do just fine is podcasting, you can do it from the safety of your own home. And a lot of people have a lot of time on their hands suddenly. Like a lot of plans are canceled. They were going to go to this sporting event or this concert or whatever it is. And now they got a lot of time to sit around listening to our ass, bullshit.
That's right. So. Meanwhile, podcasting is thriving. We're happy with it.
If ever there was a day where I was like, we have to get an episode out this week, it's this week, just out of respect to our listeners that need something to listen to and they need to be lifted
That's
up.
Right. They can cuddle up with their toilet paper and listen to podcasts.
Make a big house out of toilet paper inside their house.
Whatever you people are doing with all this toilet paper. What is going on, dude?
I don't know if I told this story, but my buddy Dustin and I, when we were teenagers, you just look for stupid shit to do sometimes during summer break or whatever when you got so much time on your hands back then. One of the things we like to do was mess with people at the grocery store. We would actually go ride our bikes down there and we would go to the toilet paper aisle and we would take like a bunch of it out of the shelf. When this was a day when you had toilet paper on the shelves, we'll get to that in a minute.
Right.
But we'd take it out and we would lay in the shelf and then we would stack it back up perfectly like it looked normal. And then when people were walking down the aisle talking or whatever, we'd be like just kind of saying shit to them, kind of creep them out. We called it TP Island. It's great.
TP Island. Yeah. That's awesome.
Right.
Dude, I've never heard that before. I used to hide in the clothes racks, but I think
this is like pre-TikTok and all that shit. Like we could have probably gotten famous off doing some shit like that back then. But back then it was just for our own entertainment.
That's right. People think kids are crazy nowadays. They're really not. Here's the thing. It's like even these kids who are eating Tide Pods and all this shit, they're doing it because they have an audience. Yeah. Think about all the stupid shit you did as a kid because you had an audience.
Do you remember the cinnamon challenge? Did you ever do the cinnamon challenge?
I didn't. I took a little bit of cinnamon to see how it. I couldn't swallow that shit though.
Dude, that was horrible. It was like dangerous.
Yeah, I spit it out. I was like, no.
We had some bets with friends, and man, they were everyone that tried it regretted it. Like a
I just didn't believe it.
Do not try it.
No, you can't get that shit down.
Yeah,
I don't know what it is. I just didn't believe it. I was like, the physics don't make sense. I love cinnamon. This is going to be easy.
But I'll never forget though that just real quick on the TP thing, the island. The last time we did it, my buddy Dustin, he got caught or whatever, and he like jumped out, like all the toilet paper went flying everywhere, and took off running out the store. And I'll never forget, I was still in mine, and the store, the workers there, like the manager of the store or whatever, was like picking this shit up and talking shit like, these fucking kids, blah, 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 and I'm still sitting in mine behind.
You're just like, don't move.
Right, yeah. And so
they didn't find you, did they? You just waited.
Well, he went to the end of the aisle to talk to one of the other employees or whatever, probably to tell him to go fix it or whatever. And I jumped out and I saw my window of opportunity and sprinted out of there.
That'd be funny if you just busted out a whole nother section and threw it.
Right.
Son of a bitch.
Yeah. But toilet paper, man, we were talking a little bit before the show about like it's just so random that was everyone's highest priority right now during the coronavirus. Hopefully everybody's safe, and if you're affected by it, definitely feel for you. It's a crazy
get it. I guess
time.
This
shit happens so fast.
Yeah, but I don't know, man. It seems like it's being blown way out of proportion right now. Is it not? With this, I mean, I was looking at the map, and there's people with it all over the U.S., but I was looking, it was like North Carolina has like 11 to 20 cases.
Yeah, but if you're not careful, that can that can grow exponentially. It can spread. Like it's from my understanding, it's pretty much airborne, like droplets. So it just being in someone's presence you can get it. So if it is smart, I think, to minimize social gatherings and anywhere where there's group of like I really have to consider right now whether I want to continue to go to jiu-jitsu for the time being until we see where we're at with this, because it's just seems like a hotbed.
That's super hands-on, dude. I mean, that's a breeding ground for bacteria. And,
I mean, I know my coach is very clean and he cleans the mats multiple times per day.
I'm sure he does.
And everywhere is going to be even cleaner right now during this time, but at the same time, like it's why take risks, until we see because it is the cases. You say there were only 11 in North Carolina or whatever. What was it a week before that? Probably none or one,
So I have no idea. I just checked it yesterday just out of curiosity because they shut down schools yesterday. They called us and they said they're shutting down schools for 2 weeks. I was like, you got to be kidding me.
Yeah. Well, I think we're at a point too where companies and school districts and whatnot, they don't want to be the one that's like, no, we'll be fine. And then what happens? they're putting a big liability on themselves as a business. And also, like, they don't want to be the asshole that stuck it out and all of a sudden, like, someone died because of it,
Exactly. There's no, I see what you're saying. The risk is just too high to be that one business or be that one entity.
There was
but still,
a
lot of the local government stuff is still trucking around here. I mean, they're not stopping. The city employees, municipalities, things like that, they're still moving around.
Right.
They're still working. So
there was a guy from the CDC on Joe Rogan, and I don't know if you listened to that, but he kind of freaked me out a little bit. I recommend it. And that's what he does. He studies this stuff. And he was saying we're in for a few months of this, and it's pretty serious. So
a few months, huh?
Yeah. And look at what it's already done to our economy. So that's the scary part. Honestly, I feel like a lot of times it's not so much what the problem is, it's how everyone reacts to the problem that is the danger, and that's what we're seeing. It could get, the stores on the shelves in Vegas are completely wiped. Every grocery store, you can't get your hands on any TP. No TP Islands being done by teenagers right now.
No. It's just teenagers sleeping in the shelves. It's just, it's weird.
My wife and I just ordered a bunch of powdered milk just in case we couldn't get our hands on any milk, fresh milk from the store, because our kids go through milk like crazy. So
right.
Just trying to be proactive, because pretty soon, online shelves might be empty as well as far as food, because all it takes is a few rich people to just fill up their basement full of dried goods and stuff, and then everybody else can't get any. So
yeah, dude, I've actually found out about this whole TP scare while I was buying toilet paper the other day.
Yeah.
In a weird way, I guess I was out of the loop, but I was at Walmart, and I always go in there and I just buy the Angel Soft toilet paper, right? Because it's always the cheapest. Yeah. So I buy like the biggest pack of Mega Rolls or whatever. 'Cause I got 3 kids. They go through toilet paper like animals.
Right.
So, and not to mention we clean up after our animals with it too sometimes. So, it's a mess. And so I grabbed this big bag of it or whatever. And I'm walking out, and this lady, she's from the Northeast, no joke. It just happens to be my favorite accent to do, but she really was from the Northeast, seriously. I don't know where she was from, but she definitely had that accent. And she was like, "Can't have too much toilet paper, huh?" And I was like, I guess not. I was like, I just need this much. I got 3 kids. And she said, "Oh, you might want to get another pack." And I was like, "No, this will be good for a while." I was like, "This will probably do us for about, a few weeks."
She's looking at you like, have you not watched the news at all?
Yeah, she's standing there with she's got a buggy full of toilet paper, right? And then she's got 2 more in her hands, and she's like comparing prices. And I'm going, "What do you mean?" And she said, "The coronavirus, you better get your toilet paper." And I just didn't know what to say, because I literally had not seen I hadn't seen anything about this on the news. I don't watch the news.
You did not even realize the gold that you had in your hands, and that there was more on the shelves yet to be had, and you were just going to walk away from it.
I'm holding 24 Mega Rolls of gold right here.
Right.
And I don't even know it. And
there's more on the shelf right over there, and here's your chance to get it, and you didn't realize it. And this nice lady from the Northeast is letting you know, man, get a hold of it, because this shit.
Right. And I'm like, I just walked out with the 1 pack. Oh, shit.
Try and go back now, see what happens.
Dude, I don't know. We went grocery shopping yesterday. My wife's actually at the store right now.
This is Sunday, by the way, if you're like wondering when we're recording.
It's Sunday. And
Sunday, March 15th, we're recording this.
Yeah. We haven't had that whole scare of all of our grocery stores getting empty or nothing like that yet.
Bro, it's fucking chaos in Vegas. I can't understand how it's not like that over there. It's absolute chaos. Like, all the local news stations are at the grocery stores, and it's just wiped.
Yeah. You've told me that, and then some of my other friends from Vegas have sent me Snapchats and stuff and been like, "Check this out. There's no meat. There's no meat. There's no toilet paper. There's no bread." I'm like, what the hell?
Right.
It's just, I figured Vegas would get hit hard.
Still, the toilet paper thing blows my mind. How that was like the first thing to be, everyone was just trying to get their hands on toilet paper. I get it, you're going to be indoors more and whatnot, but man, I just feel like food. I guess food maybe would be a little more important than
right.
You could always get a bidet, or you could jump in the shower if it comes down to it. That's gross, but at the same time, like, life or death, toilet paper versus sustenance.
Yeah. I don't know. I guess people are using them to also blow their nose on and stuff. I guess they got rolls of it all over the place. I don't know. I mean, why aren't they buying Kleenexes? Why can't we buy Kleenexes? Kleenexes can also wipe your ass.
That's gone too.
Oh, really?
Some people were saying toilet paper. At least some people were like, these soft ass people. Like, there's millions of rolls of paper towels sitting here, but your tushy's too soft to deal with that.
Right. Don't flush it down the drain though. I mean, don't flush it down the toilet. The paper towels.
Yeah.
Yeah. You'll be having a problem. But you can still wipe your ass with paper towels. Shit,
Right.
I've done it in a pinch.
Oh, definitely, man. It really kind of gets everything good too.
It's it's funny, right? I feel like a damp paper towel may be the best way to go, honestly.
Yeah.
But
my butthole's hardened though. It's like he has that Carl Panzram voice. Yeah. He's over with Clint Eastwood. You feel lucky, punk. You don't know what I've seen.
That's right. I've wiped my ass with 220 grit sandpaper before. Yeah,
exactly. So my butthole was ready for this pandemic, so that's just me though. So, but
yeah,
man,
we'll
I don't
be
know
good, man. First world countries panic over some dumb shit.
Yeah,
we do.
Yeah, you're right. You're right. But I also I think it is smart to play it safe. So we'll see where this goes, man. By next week, who knows what the hell we're going to be looking at because this shit progressed so fast. It's like Thursday. Mm-hmm. Thursday through most of the day, things were pretty normal. Like obviously the major news stations like they were kind of eating up the coronavirus thing. They were talking about it and whatnot. But there was you couldn't really tell from a street level that anything had changed. But by Thursday night / Friday was when it really everything changed. But I remember I went to class. I went to jiu-jitsu class Thursday evening, and when class ended, someone was looking at their phone and like NBA season's canceled. We were just like, what? Like that. No one was taking the coronavirus all that seriously until that happened. It seemed like that was the thing that set everything off. And then it was like by the next day, other major sporting, organizations like the NHL and stuff started closing. It was just like everything, boom, 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 one after another. Everything was closing. And then all of a sudden, Tom Hanks has it, a guy that survived multiple wars, Vietnam, World War II. He's got it. You're like, dang, this is serious.
Yeah, it does seem strange. But do you know anyone personally who has it?
No. That I know of. That's the thing is that it can be an incubation for days. You can carry it around for days, feeling normal before the symptoms kick in. And then also some people feel it worse. Apparently kids, that's the one good thing about it is it seems as though kids it doesn't really affect them much. Like they can have it and they don't even know. They just feel normal. And then some people they get it and they on the verge of death or they die, and then other people they have it and they feel kind of crappy. It seems like it's dependent on your immune system, obviously. So
yeah, take care of yourself, people. Hydrate.
Yeah.
Stay up on your vitamin C.
Stay away from crowds.
Shit like that. Stay away from crowds.
Not that there's many places to go to be around crowds at this point. Everything's been canceled. So I had tickets to the Golden Knights next week, and who knows what's going to happen with those.
Oh, you're not going to get to go, are you? It's suspended
I think they told us to hold on to our tickets, and I think that game will be played at a later date, hopefully, if the world doesn't end.
Right. If the world doesn't end. Yeah, right. If this isn't the zombie virus.
Yeah. Well, should we? This is one of our longest intros since the early days.
Yeah, really. But I mean, it's relevant information, man.
It's
stuff we need to get off our chest.
It's strange times. So
it is.
Had to be discussed. But should we dive into the Hex House? We had a great suggestion from a listener. Let me pull it up. Let's see.
Yeah, this is very interesting in Tulsa, Oklahoma.
Maddie Hofstrom.
And there's Maddie Hofstrom. Yes.
Said, boys, I will find a local case that will tickle your fancy. Have you heard of the Hex House? It's warped by urban legend, but has lots of truth. Heck, it's been turned into a local large-scale Halloween haunted house, and the antagonist is a middle-aged woman too. So, we decided to pick this case for this week. It's a fun little case.
Yeah, kind of Dorothy Puente-ish.
Yeah, a little bit. Definitely. No. Tulsa. I don't know what it is about that place in regards to crime. Like everything I watch, Tulsa's involved. Like crime wise, if you watch First 48, huge Tulsa thing in that. Like one of the cities that they focus on in the First 48 lately has been Tulsa. And then when you watch Live PD Thursday and Friday night or Friday and Saturday nights, it's always like Tulsa's focused in that one. It's one of the cities they're in. It's just like it seems like everything true crime lately has been Tulsa heavy. So it's kind of.
Now, this case isn't recent, though. This case is from the 40s.
No. It's from the 40s.
But I see what you're saying.
But Tulsa just has a foothold in true crime for whatever reason, is what I'm saying, in general.
Okay. They're making a comeback. They're making up for it.
Yeah. All right, let's dive into it.
Let's do it, man.
In 1944, Carolann Smith, 51 years of age,
was living in a stately ivy-covered duplex at 10 East 21st Street with 31-year-old Virginia Evans and 30-year-old Willetta Horner, who were hexed into turning over every cent from their day jobs to her. Evans said she was hypnotized or mesmerized by the older woman, while Horner said she and Miss Smith had a mother-daughter relationship. Either way you put it, it seems we have a real she-Svengali on our hands. This has been your intro, and I'm Mike.
You might not think the hexes are real. To you they may not be such a big deal. If you prefer evidence, something you can see and feel, then you're not considering all the ways there are to kill. Her husband, he chose suicide. Her father just couldn't pull through. The maid hit by a car, and yes, the driver died too. You might not think the hexes are real. Neither do I, but I find it intriguing still. How one can control another, tell them what to say and feel. I hope you'll understand there are many ways to kill. There are many ways to kill.
All right, our case this week is the Tulsa Hex House, and there's a woman who would become the center of this case, and then it became like Maddie said, a form of folklore, and like it would live on, and kind of like paranormal-ish as well. This site of this hex house is still talked about in Tulsa, and every year, like, it's basically the center based off this case. They have this known as the world's scariest haunted house, supposedly. At least that's their claims,
right?
You know.
And now this haunted house is very loosely based off of this case, though.
Yeah.
I mean, they've added a lot of stuff. It's not like the house itself was haunted,
right?
It's just some creepy things went on there, and there's a lot of speculation to be had, but there is also a lot of evidence and a lot of strange circumstances that are, kind of hard to explain.
Yeah.
Logically, in my opinion.
Yeah, to this day, the Hex House is still a fixture, mainly during October, as it's now reborn every year as the area's scariest haunted house, given the name Hex House. You can look up stuff on. There's actually more stuff in researching this case about this haunted house than the case itself. There's not a whole lot to study with this case. There's some articles. Someone did a good YouTube breakdown of it. You can pull that up. If you just look up Tulsa's Hex House, you can find that. So shout out to the person that did that. So that was kind of nice to study that, because there's just some pictures and then just a general breakdown of the case. So yeah, this is just one of those simple cases where you look up some articles and then we can speculate on it. And
right.
I like going to Google Street View and going to where the house used to be. It's now basically just a parking lot. But the stairs, it's creepy that the original stairs are still there, which there's something.
Isn't it also kind of weird that the Shriners built this parking lot and then just, they kind of left it, and then they left the stairs?
Yeah, that's what I mean. That's kind of what added to the mystique of it, is that and like supposedly the basement where some people were held captive, somewhat, not really captive. They weren't being held down there against their will. They kind of chose to be down there because they were.
Well, they kind of were and they kind of weren't, though, right?
They did have a hex on them, allegedly.
Yeah, but it was more than a hex. It was also blackmail and threats as well.
Yeah, you're right.
You know what I mean? There's a little more than just a hex going on. I'm not trying to downplay that if you believe in that sort of thing, but I'm just saying there was more than just a hex. These women they had other reasons to not go against Carolann Smith, which was her name.
Yeah, but supposedly that basement is still under that layer of concrete. They just filled it in with dirt and then put concrete on it. So the basement's still kind of intact, just filled with dirt.
That's interesting, isn't it?
Yeah.
It's like that would be the easiest thing to do, though. It's like, why tear down the basement? You're just going to have to fill all that space where those concrete walls were in the basement with dirt. So you might as well just leave it.
Yeah.
I mean, it makes perfect sense. It's not like they did that shit on purpose or anything. You know what I mean? There was no intent there.
Yeah, it's just odd that nothing's been built on it in that long. You know, it was like it was torn down, and that parking lot was created in 1975, and still,
Yeah.
like you'd think they'd build something there, but
Well,
that
maybe
just
they need the
adds to
parking
it.
lot.
Just adds to it. Yeah, I
know?
guess. Well, let's start at the beginning. It all started way back during World War II with ration books. Believe it or not, that's where this case begins. That's how this person and this house was discovered. During World War II, each family received a ration book, which allowed you to purchase sugar, meat, cooking oil, and canned goods. It's kind of perfect for what's going on right now. It seems like we're not too far away from ration books if this coronavirus keeps spiraling out of control.
Well, now, see, at this time, they were rationing for the troops, though, pretty much.
Yeah, well, yeah, they...
You know, for the armed forces, they wanted to make sure they had enough to eat and drink during the war, so, you know, they asked that civilians would cut back.
When you bought an item being rationed, you turned in a stamp. Once you ran out of stamps, you needed to wait until the next month for more. The government determined the number of stamps you received based off your household size. And much like taxes, if one lied to the government about how many dependents they had or how many rations books their quote-unquote family required, it was not taken lightly. However, 51-year-old Carolann Smith played by her own rules and ordered 8 ration books essentially for herself, and she would use bogus names and also family members that were no longer around, and even a dog.
The dog is what she went too far. You know, if she doesn't use the dog, maybe she gets by with it. You know.
Oh, you mean her dead family members is not okay?
Yeah.
That's okay to do?
I think that's fairly okay. But with the dog, I think they just went too far. You know.
Yeah, but Bon is at least around to eat some of the rations as opposed to the dead family members.
What was his name? Bon Smith? What'd you put on the ration book? I want to know what was on there.
Yeah,
you know?
I think she put Bonnie, and she was alluding to the fact that Bonnie was her daughter, but it was really Bon. It was a bulldog, I believe.
Right.
So unfortunately for Carolann, this federal crime came to the attention of authorities who raided Smith's home. So yeah, feds went to the local police in Tulsa and said, "Hey, we believe this woman's doing fraud. She's saying she has all these dependents that she needs ration books for, and she's living alone." From what we've heard, basically some elementary school kids ratted her out because you had to go to the elementary school to collect your ration books. And when they started asking around about this woman who's getting 8 ration books, people started saying, "Oh, it seems like she lives alone in that duplex over there."
Right, so. But didn't she have a young boy that she took in just before this? He was like 10 or 11.
I didn't hear anything about that.
Yeah, there's pictures of it. There's pictures of her standing with the two women that she kept in the basement. And then she also has the nurse who we'll later talk about, or the live-in maid. And then also there was a young boy in the picture. And he looked, in my opinion, to be, I would say, elementary, maybe middle school age at most. I would say 11 to 12, 13 maybe at the most. And I think that she kept up this little family shenanigans or whatever during this time.
Yeah.
To try to get by with it. She may have even sent him to the school to get the rations.
Yeah, I think that's probably what his use was. Maybe it was just some local boy that she had that could have been the same boy that ratted her out, you know?
Absolutely. Absolutely. He could have told his friends, or, you know, maybe friends were asking around, and who knows?
So the authorities are brought onto this figure, and they would go raid her house. And but Carolann Smith was born Opal Marie Carey in Indianapolis, Indiana, sometime around 1893. She had a husband who we will talk about because it's a little curious how he perished.
Yes, it is.
But for now, the police would raid her home on 10 East 21st Street, which opened up a much larger can of worms. They went there thinking, you know, fraud for these books. And when they got in the house and started looking around, they discovered there was much more to this story than just fraud. Her large duplex home contained $250 silverware set, a Packard car, 46 pairs of shoes, 18 pairs of gloves, 26 hats, and makeup galore, enough makeup to fill an aisle of a department store pretty much. Which that doesn't sound too crazy today, but in the 40s, during World War II, when things are so bad, you're rationing food, you know?
Right. That's
She was
excessive.
living large, essentially, like 46 pairs of shoes.
46 pairs of shoes.
Yeah, and she had like a really fancy car and all this stuff, and she didn't have a job, you know, so it was kind of odd. And then in the basement is where they really found something odd. They found two women that appeared to almost be in prison. They were living under horrid conditions. They had been beaten, starved, and treated inhumanely, all while Smith was upstairs living a lavish lifestyle. And they were actually working day jobs. And the police would come to find out that they were bringing home their paychecks and giving every penny of it to Carolann, who was then making them live like peasants down below the house in the basement. They had their only heat was from the pilot light on the furnace.
Yes. Yeah, because a guy came to repair the furnace, right? And he's like,
Yeah.
this pilot light needs to be put out for 4 hours. And they were like, oh, please hurry, because that's our only form of heat.
Yeah, exactly.
God.
And their beds were basically made of orange crates. They were living on basically on boxes is what they were sleeping on. And after further investigation, the police would find out that the two women had been living under occult or hypnotic conditions for 7 years. The women were Virginia Evans, who was 31 years old, and Willetta Horner, who was 30. They claimed that Smith had hexed them into turning all of their money into her. So Carolann was 51. She was 20 years older than these two and had she'd put some sort of spell over these two girls and convinced them that if they did what Carolann said and they suffered, that there was some sort of payment in the afterlife, right? Is that what the sense you got from this?
Yeah, she kind of used a mix of, I would say, a little bit of Christianity, a little bit of voodoo, a little bit of Bible. The scriptures, I think, were really what got these women on board. You know what I mean? Because they even said that in the interviews. They said everything she said, she had a scripture or a chapter or something to back this up.
Isn't that what's convenient about the Bible? That's pretty much the book on the Bible is that you can find a scripture in there or a quote from it that'll pretty much match up to anything you want to believe. It'll back you up.
And it's easy to take that and then interpret it how you want or twist it or maybe add a little bit of this, add a little bit of that, little bit of speculation and put your own will and your own spin on it. I think that's mainly what she was doing. But I think there was also some kind of blackmail going on as well. I think she either had maybe pictures of these women doing something, or I don't know. It just seems like there was a little bit more than that to keep them in there and to keep them that obedient.
Right.
You know, they obviously weren't happy with their living conditions. When they went to work each day, why come home?
Exactly.
You know,
they had plenty of chances to escape.
Right. Right. And it didn't seem like Carolann was too stressed about it. I mean, she's at home living lavish, going shopping, doing what she's doing. It's not like she's keeping an eye on them, making sure that. And then maybe she picked them up from work, took them and picked them up. But still, I mean, you can leave.
Right.
You can run away. I mean, it's better than the conditions you're living in.
Yeah.
I don't know.
Well, Carolann had met Virginia, the 31-year-old, at a Christian Science bookstore in 1937. They hit it off. She invited her to move in with her. And then Carolann had struck up a relationship with Willetta at a grocery store before inviting her to move in as well. Now, Willetta had a rough past and a rough childhood, and I guess that was part of the means that Carolann used to get on the same level as her, kind of sympathize with her and everything, invited her to live with her. And from there, things progressed, and she started. It is much like you said, like Dorothy Puente, where she saw opportunities in people to victimize them and take everything they have just for her own gain. Like, it was very financially motivated, it seemed.
And she must have some sort of charm, some sort of way of speaking to people at the beginning, something that set her apart.
And also, this is like you said, during World War II, where I think she had this grand image. You know, she wore fancy clothes and drove a fancy car, and
I see what you're saying.
So
she had the appearance of success and stability.
Yeah.
In a time when no one else really did.
Gave her more clout and made it her easier to believe the things she said because look at her, she's doing well, type of thing.
Exactly.
Smith forced them to sleep on cots in the basement, keeping them locked below, while Evans said Smith hypnotized and mesmerized her. Horner stated that she and Smith had a mother-daughter relationship. So they were truly believing in the fact that Carolann was doing what was best for them. They were fully bought into that idea.
And well into and in their 30s too. You know, these are adults.
Yep.
And then she met them, 7 years before, so they're in their 20s. I mean, I know they're in their early 20s, but where were they living? What were they doing? It had to have been better. It had to have been a very gradual change, is what I'm saying, to get to where they are at this point in the story.
You don't think the night that Carolann let them move in, that the first night was like, all right, strip all your shit. You're going to the basement where it's cold, and you're getting slop to eat, and that's it.
Right. This had to be some sort of slow process.
Yeah.
That happened here.
Yep. After their rescue, the women recalled being subjected to a purification ritual with a promise of reward at the end. Neither ever elaborated on what said reward entailed. Like we speculated, it was maybe something to do with getting into heaven or the afterlife, and that they had to pay their dues now during their life on Earth. How could Carolann afford all of this stipend made up of what Evans and Horner turned over to her was a question that police still had. It's like they were making modest means at their day jobs, and yet Carolann, if that's all the money she's getting is their two paychecks, then there's got to be something more to this. And when they started diving in, they would find out that Carolann had taken out life insurance policies in the past on multiple family members and even her maid just before they died from mysterious circumstances. So it seems as though we have a serial killer on our hands here when they start looking into it. Because Smith's husband allegedly committed suicide by gun to the head in 1934, about 10 years before the police raided her house in the fraud. And this provided her with the largest insurance policy that she had collected from different members of her family, $31,000, which in today's dollars would approximately be $450,000. So her husband...
Oh, that's insane. That's probably what she bought this house with, because not long after that is when she moved, right? Because she met the girls in 37. Yep. So that's how she bought the house.
She had a house with her husband, right? Shit. And then her husband dies. Right. He kills himself. Allegedly, she had supposedly been talking to him, getting in his head, talking about suicide like all the time. And so I heard something about the suicide. There was a stick that was used on the trigger, which is very weird. Some sort of a twig strange. Was used for the trigger, so that's odd.
Right, because he supposedly used a shotgun.
Yeah.
So,
which is long and it's hard to do yourself, which is the whole toe on the trigger type of
toe on the trigger. Yeah. That's so creepy, man. The way all that played out. I mean, if he took his own life, she definitely had something to do with it. She was pushing that.
Yeah. And so like as you mentioned, right after that, her husband's passing, she moved to this duplex, this large, beautiful duplex, but it was also due to the land. I think the home that they had been in before they were renting, and the landlord did not trust her or like her, and basically kicked her out after the husband was gone, and that's why she was forced to move, and would end up spending the next 10 years in this duplex, and odd things would continue to happen at her next place. But also her father died of mysterious circumstances. There's not much detail on that, but she collected his life insurance policy, and also her maid. Her maid dies. This is one of the creepiest parts of the story. What were you going to say?
Right. I was just going to say, with her father, what she had done was her father was getting up in age, right? So she went to visit him. I can't recall exactly where he was living. I want to say it was somewhere near Florida. I might be.
That's right. She went to visit him and bring him back, right, to live with her, and he never made it.
He never made it. Just all of a sudden, she goes and visits him, and then next thing we know, he's dead.
Yeah, and she's got the life insurance policy in her name.
And then she's headed back to Tulsa with the life insurance policy.
Right.
That is so sketch.
Yeah. And so within a year of living at the duplex in Tulsa, something very odd happens with her maid. She has this maid, which is kind of odd that she even has a maid, in the first place, not having a job and whatnot. But she got so much in life insurance money that she has to have this lavish lifestyle. But 1 year into living in the duplex, her maid is seen running out of the house screaming. Runs down those stairs that we briefly mentioned that are still sitting there on this property to this day, and into the street before being struck by a car and later dying in the hospital. Her name was Beulah Walker. That was the maid that was died of this mysterious, like what happened that caused her to run out screaming and get hit by a car. Screaming.
Right. Do you think that's just happenstance, or maybe she told her this was an order, or maybe she witnessed something and just couldn't handle it?
If I had to guess, if I just had to throw some shit at the wall, I would say that Carolann attempted to kill her. She had obtained we know she obtained a life insurance policy on the maid before this. And I think
Right.
she was trying to kill Beulah. She'd either drugged her or she tried to just straight out kill her outright physically.
You think
with
she physically
some sort of
tried to
weapon.
kill her?
And Beulah, running for her life, ran down the stairs and was so freaked out that she didn't look for traffic and got struck by a car. And then what's even crazier is that allegedly, a lot of this stuff's muggy about this because this is so long ago in the 40s and whatnot, and we don't have much to go off. But supposedly the driver of that car was then also died right after that of mysterious circumstances. Like there's this whole web of just like it's a little bit like Johnny Gosh, like when you dive deep, it's just like people just kept dying, disappearing that were close to this person.
Right. Yeah. That's where like the hex stuff comes in. I think that's where it's kind of hard to explain. It's like, how would that guy die? Did she know who he was? Did she track him down? Was he interviewed for newspapers?
Was he going to be a witness to some sort of crime that supposedly she had committed? Was she worried about that, like him being on the stand in trial or something?
Right. Did the girl actually run out screaming, or did she? Because I seen some articles.
Or was
that
Carolann chasing her?
Yeah, exactly. And I seen some articles where it basically said that she walked out into traffic. Like, was she made as a punishment, walk out into the road and stand there, it would be hard for a car to hit you just standing there. I would think a typical driver would be like, okay, what's this person doing standing in the road?
Especially in the 40s, there's no texting or anything
like
that.
Right. Yeah, exactly. And I'm pretty sure Tulsa wasn't the populated city that it is today. Then I'm sure it was a more populous city, but
Right.
It just seems so fishy to me, man. And then for this guy, the only other witness to what happened, he's gone. So now it's Carolann's word against nobody's.
Yeah.
It's like whatever she says happened is what happened.
Yeah, and obviously nothing further was really investigated to do with that, except by the insurance company. I think the insurance company, when they did their investigation, they decided to not pay out Carolann for that one. So she definitely didn't make out as far as that's concerned. Thankfully, she'd gotten enough insurance money from people. But why would they pay her for her maid dying? I don't understand how you can even take out a life insurance policy on your maid like that. And then you're like, she dies in such a mysterious way like that, where she runs in front of traffic, screaming from your house, the person who owns the insurance policy, or who's the beneficiary of it.
I think she claimed that she was her daughter or something, did she not? She had some reason for taking out this insurance policy, and then they found out that she was basically a live-in maid servant, and they were like, well, you're not qualified to take out this insurance policy.
It's really quite amazing that it took so long for authorities to catch on to this person. Like, she'd gotten away with insurance fraud how many times, and mysterious deaths surrounding her. And of course,
it took privilege that she
scamming
lived
the
with
government.
At that time,
it took scamming the government, not insurance companies, but scamming the government. Of course, for these ration books. That's what got her caught. Was not allegedly murdering her family members for insurance policies, but the ration books. As I would say, they pay your taxes, because that's what got Capone caught. Right? Was tax fraud.
That's right. If anybody's going to get you, it's going to be the government.
Yeah.
You got that right. They take that shit serious. You can kill whoever you want. Just make sure you know the government.
Isn't that easy? Just kill whoever you want. Just make sure you pay your taxes after.
Just pay your taxes, okay?
Yeah. So aside from living off insurance money and the cash brought in by her live-in slaves, essentially, Smith also maintained a long-distance scheme that milked the father of one of the women that she had in the basement of a bunch of money. So Virginia Evans' father kept a correspondence with Carolann, in which Carolann managed to pry $17,000 out of him. So Virginia Evans' father was very wealthy, and Carolann knew this, and she basically convinced Virginia Evans' father that his daughter was very ill and that she was taking care of her and she needed money in order to properly care for her. And $17,000 later, the father still didn't know the wiser.
Yeah, but she paid for that, though. She actually got convicted of that.
Yeah.
I think. That is one of the few things she answered for.
Yeah, but only because the government came and discovered all this was going on. The dad still didn't know the wiser until everything came to light.
Right, exactly.
Before police had ever entered the Hex House, Smith's neighbors reported seeing strange burials performed late at night, as well as hearing strange growls and screams in the night, which kind of adds to the creep factor of this place still to this day. Like these just odd happenings. Now the burials late in the night, what it would come to be was a little more benign and not. To me, it's just kind of like, who kind of hasn't buried a pet at some point, former tenants. Because basically what we would find out is that the burials were dogs. There was a couple of, but the coffin thing was kind of strange.
I was about to say, why do you put them in a coffin though?
Yeah, they found two dogs that were buried and they were put in coffins. One was like a cardboard coffin, allegedly, which is basically sounds like a box, like a cardboard box, which I kind of get it, I guess. Mm-hmm. But then like actually putting your dog in a coffin and then burying that, like, to me, that is actually it's almost gives her some humanity. It's like you loved your dog so much you put him in a coffin, you know what I mean? Like,
or maybe that was part of the ritual. Maybe she wanted to preserve the body in the ground for a little while longer, or maybe the dogs were killed for a certain reason, a certain way, because it's always dogs plural.
And it's not even clear if they were killed. It says like in articles it does say why were they buried like this and why were they killed in the first place, and it's like they could have just. I mean, when sometimes dogs die and then you bury them, maybe they weren't killed.
But she was there for, what, 7, 8 years? Yeah. I mean, how many dogs do you have die in 8 years? I mean, most dogs, even big dogs, live 10 plus years. Yeah. I mean, typically, I don't know.
Maybe Bon Bon was on to her and she was worried about him going to the authorities.
That's right. That's right. Yeah, maybe. Yeah. Maybe Bon Bon's the one that ratted her out. She was like, I don't need a ration. I have plenty of dog food.
Right.
There's something strange going on here.
This part kind of creeped me out a little bit. The former tenants of the other half of the duplex, so they shared this duplex with people at different times. And I think this was an attempt by Carolann to get these people out of here. And it was confirmed by Virginia and Willetta of their behavior at the time, messing with these tenants that lived in the same building. At one point, a former tenant said that he was lured around by Virginia and Willetta around the building to their side of the duplex, and when he got down there to at the base of the building, they dumped boiling water on him from an upper story window, which is insane. Just horrifying. How is that not reported to the police? First of all, that's like a violent crime.
Seriously.
And also, like they were starting fights with tenants that shared the duplex with them
for no apparent reason.
On the regular.
It's not like this was a domestic disturbance, and they were like, "Hey, shut up, or your dog's shitting on my lawn."
Totally unprovoked.
No, it was just it was just whatever.
Totally unprovoked.
Yeah. That does seem strange.
And it had to, and they would confirm with police that these things did happen when these stories came out from former tenants, and they said that they were led to do this by Carolann, who was telling them to do these things. And you have to think it was because Carolann probably wanted the whole building to herself, and she was trying to get rid of these people living on the other side.
Oh, absolutely. Absolutely. You need less people onto you as possible.
Yeah. So we mentioned the coffins with the dogs. One coffin was made of cardboard. The other was buried 5 feet deep in the ground, and it contained the remains of her beloved Bon Bon. That's quite a ways to bury a dog and put him in a coffin. That's like full-on human treatment.
Well, she wasn't digging it.
Yeah, right.
Yeah, them girls were digging that.
Oh, you cannot see her out there in a fur coat digging a hole for Bon Bon.
She had those
probably standing there drinking wine, watching Carolann and Virginia.
Yeah, with her mink,
Virginia
mink scarves. She had like multiple dead minks for scarves.
Yeah.
Like, oh my god.
Look her up. She's very reminds me of Cruella de Vil or something.
Yeah.
I think she even drove a similar car.
Yes. Yeah, she did, didn't she?
She is.
That's a good point.
Yeah. As if this scene needed any more outrageous props, authorities also found a treasure trove of books on witchcraft and ritual magic. And that's where a lot of the occult stuff came to. The media at this point is eating this story up. You got this odd situation with 2 women being enslaved in the basement of this home, and then they're finding all this occult stuff. And then in the 40s, that had to have been just like so out there,
Oh, it, dude. And I think that also gives a little insight into how she had this control over people, because a lot of this stuff wasn't as understood as it is now. You know, there wasn't the internet. You couldn't go and do your own research. So you meet this woman who seems very successful. She has her shit together, and this is how she does it, right? That's what she tells you. I study in the occult. I follow these rules. I do this. I do that. And it seems like,
and if you listen to me and you follow what I tell you to do, you can get the same stuff, and that's why they were not against their will. They were basically choosing to follow what she said and live in this cold basement, and eventually they were hoping to get some sort of payment out of it.
They're going to live in paradise forever. Yeah.
Yeah.
Exactly.
On top of these books, the police found handwritten journal entries about Smith's belief in controlling the human mind through witchcraft. These belongings and Evan's claim of being hypnotized by Smith gave weight to the idea that she was some sort of a she Svengali, which is kind of her nickname, the she Svengali of Tulsa.
It's kind of a cool nickname, if I'm being honest.
It is kind of tight.
It's a cool nickname. It's a terrible woman. Yeah. Cool nickname, though.
One of the most curious parts of every report about Smith's surroundings is the detail of a shocking discovery made at the Hex House, which just kind of adds to the allure because we don't know what the shocking discovery was.
I hated that.
There's speculation that it's sexually related. I kind of like it though, because then we can just speculate, like, what the hell was it?
I just wanted some more hints, you know?
Yeah. The Tulsa World reported the discovery, quote, tends to bear out the sex angle, quote, end quote, but never quite hashed out what that might mean. It is possible that the police found a primitive sex toy among Smith's personal items.
Yeah.
We were talking about this before the show, and we're like, what if it was just like a dildo?
Right.
You know, and that was just so taboo
Wouldn't all
back in the 40s.
sex toys be primitive sex toys in the 40s? I mean...
Yeah. What did a 1944 sex toy look like? It was just like
She whittled down the leg of a chair or something. I don't know.
Yeah.
I have no idea, man.
Who knows?
Who knows what this was?
Yeah, but it definitely, I liked that part, just the weirdness of it.
Tends to bear out the sex angle. It might have just been too, quote unquote, graphic, you know, for a newspaper. Yeah. You know, it would have just been too much. It wouldn't have been allowed at that time to even be spoken, you know? And maybe it was just lost to history before we reached a point where that could be discussed. I don't know.
Right. Have you ever seen the movie Burn After Reading?
God, a long time ago.
It has George Clooney and Brad Pitt. Bro, dude.
Oh my gosh.
I just flashed back to this scene, and through the whole time, like, George Clooney is this kind of like private character, right? And like there's something he's like, you see like sparks flying in his basement, and he's building something, and you're like, what the fuck is he building down there? And then it like reveals what he's been building, and it's this like sex toy, like this chair you sit on, and then you pedal, and this dildo goes back and forth. That movie is just so ridiculous. I just had this like image of that. This is their shocking discovery they made,
dude.
You know, in this house is something similar to that.
I just realized that's where Mac probably got it from on Always Sunny.
Oh yeah, the bike.
Remember the bike? He's like, no, it's a workout bike. It's like, but what's with the dildo on the? No, you don't understand. It's like, no, you don't understand.
Oh yeah, It's Always Sunny is just ridiculous.
Dude, season 14's out. Have you been watching it? Totally short tangent.
Actually.
I'm on like episode 3.
I don't feel like it's quite as good as it used to be, but you know, it's still sunny.
The thing I don't like is you can tell that they're so immersed in Hollywood culture now. It's like every one of their episodes is something that they probably think is very important to be discussed because of the culture around Hollywood and movie making and things. But to us, it's not as relatable. Like as were the first 13 seasons, it was just petty everyday shit, and then you have this gang,
very Seinfeld-esque, where it's like
it's a show about nothing.
They're all bad people, but you're like, you know, you want to hang out with them at the same time.
Right. At the same time, they're doing shit. It's like, wonder what would happen if I did this, you know. But this new season it's very it's like Hollywood Justice Warrior-ish. I don't know how to describe it.
Yeah.
So it's still funny, but not as relatable.
Yeah, they're trying to they're doing the South Park thing where they're trying to cover like a social issue each episode and make it seem ridiculous.
Right. Exactly. But yeah, it's still funny though. I'm still gonna hang in there.
Yeah.
You know.
Yeah.
All right.
Back to the story. We're just kind of wrapping up here. So yeah, they find this odd thing that we'll never know what it was. So we can just speculate that it's maybe like a a Mac bike,
Yeah,
Who knows?
Could have been.
Tulsa police would ultimately charge Smith with a number of illicit actions. She received a year in prison for telling the women what to say at trial for defrauding Evans's father across state lines and making false claims to obtain ration books. So she basically got a slap on the wrist. She received 1 year in prison.
Yeah.
Upon her release, she was lost to history. Carolann Smith was never heard from again. It's speculated that she changed her identity.
I don't think that was her identity in the first place. I don't think that was her real name.
I agree. I don't think we ever really knew even who this woman really was.
That name is so
to begin
basic.
With. Yeah. And after Smith's case came to an end, Hex House became the place kids in Tulsa went to get creeped out until it was torn down in 1975. Where the house once stood has now been turned into a parking lot. However, the stairs still remain that maid ran down before being struck by a car. And now there's, as we mentioned, one of the world's scariest quote-unquote haunted house is based off of the Hex House.
It does not sit on the parking lot, which would be cool.
No. It should, though. Wouldn't that be way better?
Way better.
It's a perfect spot. It's a fucking parking
really
lot.
is.
Like, that's where you put haunted houses.
And I looked at quite a few Google images, and I never seen any cars there. Maybe one. You know what I mean? It's like how often?
Exactly. It's just an empty lot, right? With like three stairs going up.
Right. It's not even that well maintained. Like the parking lot's all cracked, and I don't know.
Yeah.
I don't know what they're using it for. I think is there a park across the street or something? I think there's something across the street that you could walk to. I think it's a park or some sort of sports complex or something. I can't remember on Google Maps, but if you go check it out. So I'm guessing that's the only time it gets used.
You got to put that haunted house on the Hex House property though, on that lot, dude. That would just make it so much better.
It seems like a big ordeal now though, because that house is so popular. Like you said, when you Google Hex House, fuck Carolann Smith, all you find out is the damn haunted house. That's all you're gonna find. Like you gotta type in her name and dig a little deeper to find this story. Even
I mean, if this thing ever blows up big enough to where we can do tours and stuff, we gotta go to Tulsa during Halloween season and go to the Hex House.
Yeah, and then or we could do a show from the parking lot.
Yeah, park the touring creep van in the parking lot and do a show.
Yes,
we're live from the Hex House property.
Oh, dude, how cool would that be? That would be awesome.
Right, one can dream.
That's right.
That we could get out of our normal 9
Dude,
to 5.
Who knows, man?
Live that life.
I never thought I'd be doing a podcast that, helps me pay bills for 3+ years. I mean, you never know where you're going to be.
No doubt. You don't know what the future holds.
That's right.
Coronavirus could end this whole thing for us.
That's right. Maybe
Who knows?
maybe podcasting is all we have. Maybe we can't go to work. And so we just put out tons and tons of content. Maybe it's the coronavirus is helping us be successful at podcasting.
There's definitely people that are benefiting from it. There's no doubt about it. The NFL just had. I just saw this morning that the NFLPA agreed to the CBA agreement that's been debated, and top end players have been saying it's crap and all that stuff. But the players got afraid of what the future holds with coronavirus, so they decided just to sign a 10-year contract with the NFL. So there will be no lockout or holdout for a while in the NFL. The players have agreed to the terms of the deal, and I think that was really brought on by the coronavirus. They were afraid of if we don't sign this deal, the next deal is probably going to be worse. So they've benefited. Dana White decided to continue on with their schedule of fights that went on. They were the only live sporting event that happened yesterday, pretty much, was UFC Fight Night. I actually watched it. There was just an empty crowd. The fighters were in a cage, and there was no crowd there, no noise. It was in Brazil. And Dana's basically said, we're going to do our next 3-4 shows as planned. It's just they just changed the venue, and basically fans aren't allowed there. So
isn't that weird?
He knows that all eyes are going to be on his organization now, the UFC, because they're going to be putting out the only live shit to watch from a sporting standpoint.
Well, what do you think about that? Like, because I saw some basketball games that were played with nobody in the arenas. There were like a few right at the end, right? Some that were like too late to stop, I guess, is what you would call it, quote unquote. I don't think any sporting event is too late to stop, but whatever. But yeah, how do you think that affects the players and stuff? I think that would be awful. Like, imagine you're playing at home, man. That really evens the playing field for the visiting team.
Oh, no doubt. I think everything that's happened is right. I get why Dana did it, because at UFC it's kind of a different animal. I mean, it's the fighters. They've all said they want to fight. That they're dependent on their income a lot more than say the NBA players, or the NFL players, or the NHL, and the team. You also take the team aspect out. There's no locker room. There's not like you're not directly touching the same, like basketball. They're passing that ball around. If one player, like the player on the Utah Jazz, had it, now another player from the Utah Jazz has it. They're passing that ball around. Like they're in the same locker room. They're on the same court or field or whatever together with each other. In the UFC, it's like one person. They do their training camp. They go in. They fight one other person. And if there's no crowd there, they're not exposed as much as the team thing where you're traveling together and all that.
And
stuff.
And all the fighters are tested beforehand. They're not going in testing positive for the coronavirus. So yeah, I understand that.
Yeah, I get it.
That makes sense.
And I'm happy to be able to watch something. There's all these videos out now of like college kids in dorms. They're betting on simulations from video games. Like they'll bet on the computer playing itself in NBA, 2K, or like Madden. Yeah. Just pick two teams.
Why not, right?
Watch them play each other, the computer. It's kind of funny.
Dude, I used to do that. When Madden first came out, I used to like sim the Super Bowl, I would sim it a couple times.
Watch it play out.
Yeah, watch it play out once and then sim it maybe a couple times and just see what Madden says.
Watch Pat Mahomes break our heart again in computer form.
Just because Pat Mahomes is like fucking 99 everything, I'm sure. On
yes, he's unreal.
Yeah. Well, I mean, he is though. He's a freak of nature, to be honest.
No doubt about it.
He's just got football instincts, man. He does.
Yep. All right. Well, there is the coronavirus out there, but also you can walk around smelling good at the same time.
That's right, dude. You can. You don't have to smell like you have the coronavirus, at least.
No.
Thanks
to Oh My Gaia.
Thanks to Oh My Gaia. And Oh My Gaia is an innovative all-natural deodorant, fragrance, and beard oil company specializing in paraben and aluminum-free products. Their innovative line of deodorants inhibit the growth of odor-causing bacteria while maintaining effectiveness. At Oh My Gaia, they use only all-natural, paraben, and aluminum-free organic ingredients. And like Lauren said, you don't have to go around smelling like the coronavirus. You can smell like vanilla, or cherry almond, or sandalwood, or Egyptian musk, or dreamsicle, or leather, or lumberjack. There's got to be something that you would rather smell like, right? Or you could smell like True Crime Pine, which is our custom scent made by Oh My Gaia. And you guys can get True Crime Pine or any scent you desire for 15% off just because you are a True Crime Guys listener by using the word CREEPER, CREEPER, and you can get 15% off your order at ohmygaia.com, OHMYGAIA.com, or at shop_ohmygaia on Instagram. Thanks, guys.
Yeah, and Wendy and Oh My Gaia has been with us. As you guys know, that have been longtime listeners. She's been with us forever.
Yeah.
Supported us from the early days, man. So we definitely love.
We was nobodies.
Love repping the Oh My Gaia.
That's right.
Yeah, she put trust in us when other sponsors wouldn't, and that's why we've ridden with her for so long. We give her an unreal rate for advertising, which we like helping
That's
out.
What we do,
and she helps us out, and it's a great relationship. So let's keep it going. Definitely go buy some Oh My Gaia products if you want to help out the show.
Yeah. Two small businesses helping each other out, man. That's what it's about.
Yeah. Yep.
All right. Anything else? You got some shout outs?
Oh yeah, we got to do shout outs, man. What am I doing? I'm slacking over here.
What are we going to do now? Got to find something.
That lady with the toilet paper would be disappointed.
Oh, so disappointed. Get your shit together, Lauren. We got a couple more reviews lately. I've noticed some pretty good ones.
Yeah.
They slow down when we take a week off or so, but it's always good to see new ones. Let's see what we got here.
Let's say what's up to Jorday Bear in the U.S. and Joe Negron in the U.S. as well. So just found this podcast a month ago and loving it. Keep it up, guys. Yeah, just a few from last week.
Okay. You got any from other countries? Is that all the new ones?
No.
It's all the new ones.
I don't know what I'm looking at. You might have more. If you might be able to find more. You always seem to find. I'm always looking at the wrong thing.
Let me see what we got in Canada here. Canada. Detroit Wingman. Did we shout out him? 5 stars? Detroit Wingman? So. He says, a little bit of everything. These two guys do great research and are honest with their opinions on the creeps they report on. Fair enough. I like it.
Right on.
Yeah, if nothing, we're honest.
Yeah, we try to be.
Maybe a little too genuine, a little too honest sometimes. But all right. Well, guys, we thank you for the reviews. If you go and you leave a 5-star review and you actually write something it lets us know, and then we can give you a shout out. Or if you like, you can just go click 5 stars. But obviously, we can't see those names when that occurs. So,
yeah, if you don't want to write anything, just put something. Just put a fire emoji, an exclamation point, something, so you can get a shout out.
Right. That's right, man. Oh, also check us out on social media. True Crime Guys at Instagram, Twitter, Facebook. Also, True Crime Guys closed group on Facebook. I think it's over 1,000 members now, man. Pretty dope.
Unreal.
If you want to go on there and talk about true crime with fellow true crime listeners, people who are very, involved in the culture and won't judge you for your weird memes that you can't share with your family, whatever, that's the place to do it. What else we got? We got Redbubble, redbubble.com. You can search True Crime Guys there, or at the bottom of every episode, there is a link to merch. You can see Creeper merch and Galaxy merch as well, which was, when we were doing those Galaxy designs and stuff. All that stuff is still available as far as I know on King Custom, unless they kicked us off their website for some reason that I don't know of. But it should all still be there. And there's a link at the bottom of every episode, and there's also a link at the bottom of every episode to Oh My Gaia. So you guys have no excuse. Go get all the good stuff. All right? We make it easy.
Exactly.
All right, anything else, Lauren?
All right, guys. Our Patreon, patreon.com/truecrimeguys, $2 a month, gets you a bunch of premium content. It gets you our premium episodes that we do once a month, and it also gets you access to Michael's show, Higher Thoughts.
That's right.
And all kinds of shit on there. So go check that out. More like-minded creepers on there.
Oh yeah, that's right.
If you have a small business and you want us to advertise, send us over an email about it. Let us know what you got, and maybe we can work something out. We give good rates to listeners of the show on advertising.
That's
so
right.
We'd like to fill out some advertising on our show.
And it's easier for us to work that way as well. With the networking advertising, it's great. It is, but it's nice to be able to work directly with small businesses. Cuts out a lot of the middleman. It helps us both out. So.
Yep.
All right, guys.
We'll see you next week for another freebie, right?
That's right.
All right, keep creeping.
Keep creeping, guys.
True crime guys, in the desert we like a mirage. It's okay if you clicked on us cause you thought we was True Crime Garage. Now we ain't mad at you, sit down, let us talk at you. I'm talking to the creeper army, we out here making murder, get murder. True crime guys, in the desert we like a mirage. It's okay if you clicked on us cause you thought we was True Crime Garage. Now we ain't mad at you, sit down, let us talk at you. I'm talking to the creeper army, we out here making murder charming.